Hey, what's going on, everybody? Samuel Akem here, and I'm back with another one. I want to thank you guys for tapping in to another video, another week closer to football season. Only a couple weeks away. It's going to be freaking amazing. I can't wait. I got a great video for you guys today. I want to thank you guys once again for tapping in. I want to talk about the Attorney Generals of Montana and South Dakota. They are contemplating taking legal action to challenge aspects of the House v. NCAA settlement. Talked about that a little bit last week, about Tom Wisterstill's comments at the Big Sky Media Day and what he had to say about that. I think it's a little bit unfair, but we'll talk about it in a minute. There was a bunch of FCS standouts who made the Walter Payton Award watch list, and I actually have like a whole host of topics that I'm going to go into branched off of this Walter Payton Award watch list. Only one QB from the Big Sky is on the Walter Payton Award watch list. We're going to talk about that. I was at the Griz's ramp up practice. I guess there's these different practices that they're doing to start training camp now, to where they ramp up, try to, get less soft tissue injuries. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and what I saw. Big Sky players on the Walter Payton Award watch list per Skyline Sports and Culture New Orleans. We're going to talk about that. Should there be separate national award for FCS Offensive Player of the Year? We are going to talk about that. And then finally, Cam Ward at Miami, former Incarnate Word quarterback who was at Washington State last year, now at Miami, says NIL is not real money to college players. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe. We are nearing 1,400 subscribers, so make sure you guys continue to pound that subscribe button, pound that like button. Also, leave me a comment below this video. I read them all. I try to get back to you guys all if you guys have a question. So make sure you guys leave a comment. Appreciate you guys for tapping in, and we will get straight into the video. Okay, so last week I talked a little bit about what Tom Wisterstill had to say regarding the NCAA versus House settlement, which basically says that at least for the Big Sky institutions, year over year are going to be paying, Tom Wisterstill said, between $180,000 to $350,000 a year to cover some of the damages for, those Power 5 schools who are going to be basically football and basketball players who are going to be getting paid back for the damages of the NCAA versus the House settlement. And, if you really think about it, FCS players, Big Sky players in particular, are not going to be benefiting from this settlement. So it doesn't really make sense as to why the FCS institutions, particularly the Big Sky institutions, are the ones having to foot the bill for mostly Power 4, Power 5 institutions to pay their players back. Why aren't they the ones footing the bill? Why aren't they the ones completely under the hook for on the hook for having to pay this back? Why are FCS institutions being tasked with having to pay these damages back? It doesn't really make sense to me. It definitely doesn't make sense to the Big Sky Commissioner, Tom Wisterstill. And now some of the states that are being tasked with paying these back, some of the states that have FCS institutions like Montana and South Dakota, they are contemplating taking legal action. So we're going to read a little bit about it. The Attorneys General of Montana and South Dakota are contemplating taking legal action to challenge aspects of the House v. NCAA settlement deal. Quote, "The settlement is unfair to Montana universities," a spokesperson for Montana Attorney General Austin Knudsen said. "We are looking into what legal actions we can take. As drafted, the settlement will require the non-power conference schools, such as those in Montana and South Dakota, to give up $990 million in NCAA distributions over the next decade in order to pay NIL back damages, in quotes, that would primarily go to former power conference football and basketball players." So that is what Tom Wisterstill said. Basically, the Big Sky, these FCS institutions, are paying the money for these Power 5 conferences, now Power 4 conferences, to pay back their NCAA basketball and football players, to pay back their Power 4 basketball and football players. Like, no FCS players are going to be getting back damages from this. No FCS players are going to be getting money from this back damage settlement, from this NCAA House settlement. No money is going to be paid to FCS players. But still, they are being tasked with with paying it back. It doesn't make sense. I don't know who agreed to this deal. I don't know who was at the table bargaining for this deal, because it doesn't make sense at all. At all. Since May, when the top line details of the House settlement were publicly reported, a number of non-Power 5 schools and conferences have raised concerns that they are shouldering an unfair burden of a situation that was not of their making, and to resolve antitrust lawsuits in which they were not named defendants. So basically, we weren't at the table. FCS and Big Sky institutions weren't at the table, arguing for themselves. And I guess in this, what they're saying here is G5 institutions as well. We're not at the table bargaining, arguing. They didn't have a seat at the table. But still, they were put in the lawsuit. Even though they're not named as defendants, they're still the ones who are having to foot the bill. That doesn't make sense to me at all. And you guys listen to you guys hear me. I saw a comment last week. Somebody said that House settlement, actually, I think it was a comment on Twitter, X, whatever you call it, that said, this is that House settlement is absolutely crazy. And it is. When you actually start to read some of the information, and you actually start to read, you start to do some research into it, it doesn't make a lot of sense for FCS institutions. It doesn't make a lot of sense for Big Sky institutions. So Tom Wistrcill, some of these other now non-power conference schools and conferences who are speaking up are completely right to do so, because it doesn't really add up. The math is not mathing at all. I don't get it. But I just wanted to briefly talk about that, because I know I made a comment on Tom Wistrcill's comments, and now, it seems that some of these states are going to try to take legal action, because it does seem very unfair. It does seem very odd that they would choose the non-power conference institutions to pay it back. I mean, obviously, if you leave it all on the power conferences, it is a lot of money. I will say this, playing devil's advocate, if you leave it all on the Power 4 conferences, I think it is a big bill to foot. I will say that. I will admit that. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for them to have to pay back. But also, along those lines, they were the main ones perpetrating the problem in the first place. So it's like, you made your bed, you got to lay in it, Like, and another thing is, I don't know why FCS institutions were not included as defendants in the lawsuit. I don't know why, non-power conference schools were not included as defendants in the lawsuit. Maybe somebody can educate me on that. I don't so much understand that part of it, but it does seem kind of odd that FCS institutions aren't defendants, but yet still they're put in the lawsuit to be liable to pay back damages. That makes zero sense. You guys leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think about this, and I will move on. Okay. There was 35 FCS standouts named to the 2024 Walter Payton Award watch list. If you guys want to go look at that full list, you can go to SkylineSports.com. They posted the full list, and the Big Sky players were highlighted on that list. But you guys can go find that on Skyline Sports. That is what I'm currently looking at, some of the names that I think will win it. Who are my favorites to win the Walter Payton Award this year? First off, Mark Gronowski. I have mentioned multiple times this offseason that I feel as though Mark Gronowski has lost a lot of weapons, but a lot of people have commented as well on that when you go to a school like South Dakota State, there's an abundance of talent, which I don't necessarily disagree with. I think they're going to have a good offensive line this year. I think that backup running back is good. I don't think he's the same as Pierre Strong or Isaiah Davis, but I think he's good. I think he can get the job done. I think their defense is going to be good. They're going to have some experience on that defense. They did lose some good pieces on that defense, but we will see about South Dakota State. One thing that does still stand true is Mark Gronowski is under center. He's a great player. He's a leader. He's a winner. He's a two-time national champion. He is a Walter Payton Award winner from 2023. So he is probably my favorite to win it in 2024. But next on that list is Cole Gonzalez. Now, I don't know how much they take team success into account when they're picking the winner for this award. I think it probably, holds some value, but I mean, if you're the best player in the country, you're the best player in the country. I think Cole Gonzalez has what it takes to be one of the best players in the country. He's a really good quarterback. At Western Carolina, obviously they started off really good last year and kind of tapered off towards the back end of the year. So Cole Gonzalez, another favorite. I wouldn't necessarily put him as my second favorite, but I think he's somebody whose name could be up there at the top of the finalist list when it's all said and done. Next, I have Cam Miller. I also think he's somebody, depending on how their team does. I think, they struggled mightily last year. Not so much him. I think he was really high in accuracy, really high in efficiency. I don't think he was throwing a ton of touchdowns, but I think Cam Miller, depending on how their team does this year, the one thing that, hurts Cam Miller in terms of winning this award is the fact that they don't throw the ball too much. So he's never going to have, crazy stat line. He's never going to, have 350 passing yards, 5 touchdowns. Like, that's just not the way North Dakota State does things. So from that standpoint, I think it kind of hurts Cam Miller. But also, I think they run a balanced system at South Dakota State, and Mark Gronowski run it last year. I don't exactly remember what Mark Gronowski's finishing stat line was from last year, but, I think Cam Miller could win it, depending on how they do this year. I think it would take a lot of team success for him to win it, because I don't think his stat line is going to be absolutely crazy. Like, I don't think he's going to throw for 3,000, 3,500 passing yards and have, 30, 40, 50 passing touchdowns. I just don't think that's the type of system they run. But Cam Miller is one of my favorites as well. My favorites. This is my favorites list. I want to reiterate my favorites to win it. So Cam Miller is on there for me. Tommy Mellott from Montana State is somebody who else I could see potentially winning that award this year. Tommy Mellott is somebody else who I could see winning that award this year at Montana State. Health is the biggest thing for Tommy Mellott. You talk to people around Bozeman. You talk to people who are Montana State fans. You talk to people who who watch Big Sky football. Tommy Mellott needs to stay healthy. Stop running the power with Tommy Mellott. He's a great player. He can do it, but I think that leads to some of the injuries that we see him get over the years. So Tommy Mellott, got to stay healthy, got to keep him upright. I think he's somebody who could really dominate the FCS this year. I think he's somebody who could really dominate the Big Sky this year if he stays healthy. But also, if he dominates, once again, I think Tommy Mellott is kind of similar to Cam Miller. I think it's just overall dominance that these guys are looking, that the people who vote on this award are looking at. Obviously, I don't know so much what is the deciding criteria on who wins it, but I think it's just success at all levels. Your team is winning. You're a reason that they're winning. Tommy Mellott is somebody else, even more than Cam Miller, who doesn't really throw the ball. They don't really throw the ball a ton. They're looking to run the ball more than anything. So I don't know what his passing line stat line will look like. I think he had around 1,000 passing yards last year. Not too many touchdowns, not too many interceptions as well either. He's not going to turn over the ball too much. Tommy Mellott will take care of the ball. He's somebody who I could see winning the award, but I think it would take some team success, similar to how I mentioned with Cam Miller. North Dakota State would have to have some team success, which, they usually do. They weren't the greatest last year. They ended up making the playoffs, and, they made a run in the playoffs. But Tommy Mellott, depending on health, I think health is the biggest thing. Junior Bergen, somebody else I could see who would have to have a crazy season as a wide receiver and a punt returner or kick returner to win the Walter Payton Award. I think he would have to have over 1,200 receiving yards. He would also have to return 3 to 4 to 5 kick returns or punt returns, but he's somebody who, obviously one of the greatest athletes in the country, one of the best athletes in the country, one of the better players in the FCS. No matter what position you put him at, he's a playmaker. He makes plays as a kick returner, as a punt returner, as a wide receiver. He could definitely win the Walter Payton Award, but health, like all these players, health would have to be, a part of that equation. But, I think he'd have to have over 1,000 yards of receiver, ton of receptions, would have to be making a ton of plays. And as a punt returner, we would need to see what we saw last year from him. But I don't even know if they're taking playoffs into account. So we need to see some success as a punt returner, kick returner in the regular season. Another player who I think has been getting a little bit of attention this offseason, Shunderick Powell at the University of Central Arkansas, one of the better running backs in the FCS. He's somebody who I could see winning the Walter Payton Award. Would have to run for a ton of yards, obviously. I don't know how he is as a receiver, but as a running back, he's a really good running back. He kind of puts that Central Arkansas offense on his back. If he can do that again this year and they can pair it with some team success, maybe make a good playoff run, I think he's somebody who could be in the finalists and could be in the running to win that award. I think it's very, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this a little later, but I think the award is kind of heavily weighted towards quarterbacks these days. So, take that for what it is. I don't know so much how because Jamar Curtis is somebody who I could have saw potentially being in the running to win that award last year. Was a really good running back for Lafayette last year. And, I don't know where he finished in the Walter Payton Award finalist voting, but he was a really good player last year. He's the last player on my list. Shunderick Powell, Central Arkansas. I think he could win it. And then the last player on my list, Jamar Curtis. If you guys have been watching my videos, if you guys have been paying attention, I think he's a great player. I think he's going to be a star. I think he, has a role. I think he's very similar to Dylan Labby. Dylan Labby, I think, played more receiver than Jamar Curtis. I don't know at all if they put Jamar Curtis at receiver, but I know he can receive out of the backfield. I know he's a really good running back in between the tackles, outside the tackles. He makes plays, 1,500 rushing yards, ton of touchdowns last year. He's a good player. He's a really good player. If he's able to do similar to what he did last year, make plays, rack up a ton of yards, he's somebody who I could see winning that award as well. So those are my favorites to win it. What do you guys think about my list? Mark Gronowski, Cole Gonzalez, Cam Miller, Tommy Mellott. Obviously, as I mentioned, Mark Gronowski is probably my favorite. Everybody else after that is not, it's not numbered. So whatever you think of these: Mark Gronowski, Cole Gonzalez, Western Carolina; Cam Miller, North Dakota State; Tommy Mellott, Montana State; Junior Bergen, Montana; Shunderick Powell, Central Arkansas; and Jamar Curtis at Lafayette. What do you guys think? Who are some of you guys' favorites to win this award this year? And you guys leave me a comment down below and I will move on. Okay, another topic along those lines of the Walter Payton Award watch list is there was only one quarterback from the Big Sky who made the Walter Payton Award watch list to start the season, and he is primarily a runner. Is it because is the reason that there's only one quarterback on the list because of youth, or is it because of subpar quarterback play? I have some notes on here that I wanted to mention. I think historically, the Big Sky has had some elite quarterbacks, but I think as of late, the QB play in the Big Sky has been significantly below the elite level. So some of the quarterbacks that I mentioned on my list of, some of the elites was Eric Barrier, Kevin Thompson, Jake Mayer, Dalton Sneed. He dealt with injuries, but I think, I would put him on that list. I'm probably a little biased, but I will put him on that list. Case Cookis and Vernon Adams. Obviously, those are some guys who Vernon Adams plays in the CFL. Case Cookis is still playing in the UFL. He had a little stint in the NFL as well. Eric Berry, I believe, is in the CFL as well. He might actually be in the UFL. Kevin Thompson played in the USFL with me. Jake Mayer, not sure where he's at, but he was a really good quarterback at UC Davis. So, I think over the years, the Big Sky has had, elite quarterback play, has had some really good quarterbacks. You bring up names like Vernon Adams. I mean, that is a name that, and I'm definitely probably forgetting some names of quarterbacks that absolutely tore it up that some of you Big Sky purists can probably give me the names of, but those are just a few of the quarterbacks that I think of. I never played against Vernon Adams. I did play against Case Cookis. I did play against Kevin Thompson. I definitely played against Eric Barrier. I think he was absolutely elite of the elite. So, I don't know why. It just makes me think, why has the Big Sky not really had the quarterback play as of late that it has had in the past? And, maybe I'm off kilter here. Maybe the Big Sky really has only had one or two elite quarterbacks at a time. I think when Case Cookis was playing back in 2017, I can't really think of any other quarterbacks in the conference who Jake Mayer, I think, was in the conference at the time too. So, there's been one or two here all the time. I think there's always been like one or two, maybe three, but maybe the Big Sky hasn't always had elite quarterback play. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that there's been elite quarterback play in the conference over the years? Or, I think of Giovanni McCoy at Idaho from last year. I think he was an elite quarterback in the Big Sky. I think their offense didn't really allow for him to, show his full skill set. They were playing more of a ball control type offense. Obviously they're airing it out. They had really good receivers. They're trying to put the ball in the air, but more than anything, they're trying to run the clock out, and they're trying to control the pace of the game. They're trying to, give you as least possessions as possible. But I think had given the opportunity, Giovanni McCoy could have been a really good player. But, he was really like one of one, and he's not in the conference anymore. So maybe we're having a different conversation. Maybe this conversation is about the Big Sky getting all of its best players poached, and maybe it's about, some of the best players in the conference not staying in the conference, like Giovanni McCoy. That's something we've seen all across the FCS. Giovanni McCoy is the latest example of that. It's a wonder that Eric Berrier stayed for his whole career, because he was a young guy who actually ended up, he went to the national championship as a young guy. So for him to stay at Eastern Washington and, stick it out, I think that's commendable by him. But what do you guys think? I think the overall quarterback play in the Big Sky has been average. I mean, there in terms of when I think of quarterback play, I think of both arm talent, being able to air the ball out, and I think both. I think I don't really take running ability into account. So not that Tommy Mellott isn't a great player. If you watch me, you know that I speak very, very highly of Tommy Mellott. But when I think of quarterback play, you got to be able to air the ball out, and I haven't really seen any Big Sky quarterbacks besides Giovanni McCoy really do that at the highest level, So I think the quarterback play in the Big Sky has been a little bit average. Don't kill me for saying that, but I'm standing on that. So Giovanni McCoy, one of the guys that I think of when I point to, and then like somebody I played against, Eric Berrier, somebody I think of, Kevin Thompson, Jake Mayer, other quarterbacks I played against, Case Cookus, Dalton Sneed, somebody I played with. Or played against, and then Vernon Adams, obviously still playing professional football. So what do you guys think about some of the quarterbacks in the Big Sky? Do you guys think the quarterback play in the Big Sky is good? Do you guys think it could be better? Or what do you think? I just, see that there's only one quarterback on the Walter Payton Award watch list, and obviously that could change over the course of the season, but clearly this says something about what the rest of, what FCS football stats, what some of these media personalities think about the quarterback play in the Big Sky. I think I'm not going to say almost every conference because I don't have the list right in front of me, but there was quite a few conferences that have multiple quarterbacks on the watch list, and for the Big Sky only to have one, it's kind of concerning, man. So you guys let me know what you think about that in the comments, and I will move on. Okay, I said I was going to talk about a little bit about the Griz ramp-up practice. And so we were at the Griz ramp-up practice yesterday, and I was primarily on the offensive side, just, watching. I think this was one of the practices that was probably close to the media. Myself being an alum, I didn't have any problem really getting in there. Obviously, I didn't have, a camera or anything, so I wasn't trying to record anything. But, I think the guys look good. I think they were moving around well. A lot of the young guys just trying to execute the offense, learn the plays. Guys trying to help people learn the plays. Older guys trying to help the younger guys learn the plays. I think one of the biggest things about these practices is getting them moving around after a long summer of lifting heavy and, running hard. I think this practice helps with some of the soft tissue injuries, something that Houck mentioned that they started a couple of years ago because, I think in 21 there was a significant amount of soft tissue injuries that happened towards the beginning of training camp. And, guys are missing time and they're not so much ready to go when the season starts. So I think, these practices are to help with that, help these guys get moving around, help them not get so many soft tissue injuries. Kind of hard to get a gauge on, what guys are looking like because I think they're all kind of getting reps. But Logan Fife, I think, looked good. Kalee, I think he looked good as well. But if I had to lean towards one, to be honest, I would probably lean towards Logan Fife right now. Just the vibe I was getting. Obviously, I've mentioned multiple times this offseason that I think Kalee would be the guy. And, I still think he can be the guy. I think they're all going to get a lot of reps. I think Hewitt was getting a lot of reps as well. So they're kind of spreading the love around. Obviously, we know what the weapons are like for Montana, running back, receiver, tight end. We know what their situation is like. So I think that it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be interesting when they put the pads on. I think they have a couple more practices non-padded. I think Monday is going to be another non-padded, and I think Tuesday, honestly, is going to be another non-padded as well. They don't even put the pads on till Wednesday, so that's going to be a big practice for them. I think for me right now, the offensive line, it's so hard to judge offensive line and defensive line without seeing them in pads because that is ultimately what, that's what you want the gauge to be. So I don't like to make comments on the offensive line without them having pads on. So we'll wait until the Wednesday's practice to see what that aspect of the Griz looks like. But, I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see what, not only the Griz, but what all of the Big Sky does. Obviously, Montana State has been practicing for some weeks now. I'm in Missoula, so obviously I haven't been out to Bozeman to see a practice, but it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be very exciting. It was cool to kind of talk to Coach Houck and see where his head's at. Obviously, at Big Sky Media Day, I feel like he was much more relaxed. You get to see him, in the football mode now, coach mode, head coach mode, sending guys through pursuit drills, sending guys on push-ups when they miss the snap count. Those are just little intricacies about Griz practice that a lot of you guys might not know about, but it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. The receivers look good for Montana. There was a few young receivers that I saw at Montana's ramp-up practice that I think are going to be good players. Brooks Davis, a young receiver who I had my eye on. Eli Gilman's younger brother, Monty, I think he's also another good player that I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be a good player. They have him at receiver right now, which I think could be really good for him, getting the ball in his hands, in that slot position. So I'm excited to see what he's able to do at the receiver position. He's probably one of the shorter guys on the team. So moving in at receiver where you can get him some slip screens. I don't know. They got a lot of receivers. I was going to say, given what his skill set is, how quick he is, he seems like a really good athlete. He seems like a player who could, make waves immediately, just judging off what I saw from him yesterday. Obviously, the biggest thing for a young guy like him is going to be getting the playbook down. But I was going to say, I could see somebody like him potentially playing this year as a true freshman. But when you think about all the weapons that Montana has, it might be kind of hard. Xavier Harris is also full-time at slot receiver now. So They got a lot of weapons at that receiver position. Obviously, Drew Deck. I'm naming some of the guys who haven't really got a ton of play in the last couple of years, like Drew Deck, guys who have been in the wake. Ryan Simpson, somebody who I think a lot of people would love to see have a great season. And then you got your Aaron, your Keelan. But yeah, Brooks Davis, Monty Gilman, two guys that I was watching while watching the receivers. I think they look really good. I think I like their skill set. I think I like, some of the ability that they have and some of the ability that they showed me yesterday. Good routes, good technique. They do the little things right. They listen well, and obviously I only saw them for one day. It's going to be a progression to watch them over the course of their career. But those are a couple of guys from the receiver position that that impressed me most definitely. Obviously, training camp is here, and we're going to be watching these guys as the months, weeks progress, as the season goes on, and we'll see what the Griz are looking like. I know everybody wants to know what the quarterback position is like. I don't have an answer for you right now. Obviously, you guys will get more answers as the week progresses. When they get into pads Wednesday, I think that'll be a big gauge of what the quarterbacks look like when the bullets are flying, when they're on Door and Blazer, when it's hot. When, it's the end of practice, you're doing fourth quarter, that's when you're going to get a good gauge on, what these guys are as leaders, what these guys are as quarterbacks on the field. So let's just wait and see for that. And then obviously the offensive line. I think the defense is going to be fine. I've heard a lot of good things about some of the guys like the Anders on their defense, the defensive end that they got. I've heard really good things about the defense. I think they're going to be really good. I've heard really good things about Krishawn Gordon as well. They got Justin Ford's brother Prince at corner. Didn't really get to watch him a ton, but I think they're set up well defensively at Montana, so I don't really worry about them defensively. But offensively, I think it's going to be a big question mark. I think it has been a question mark for the Griz the last couple of years, especially at the beginning of the season. Even last year, if you think about last year, there were a lot of question marks about the Griz offense. Nobody really knew what to expect from the quarterback position. They knew, Sam Vidlak was back there, Clifton McDowell was back there. Now neither of those guys are even on the roster anymore. So we will see. I think there's three guys that could potentially play. Hewitt, I think, has the longest shot to play. But, I've heard very good things about him, about his progression and how he's been, how he's came up the ranks the last couple of years. And we obviously saw him flash in the spring game. So he's somebody who I think could really make some things happen. But really, I think it's between Fife and Ayat. We will see. Wait till the pads get on. You guys let me know what you guys are most excited to see about the Griz this fall camp. Are you guys going to be making it out to any practices? And you guys let me know, and I will move on. Okay, next. We talked about the Walter Payton Award watch list earlier. I wanted to talk about some of the players who made the Walter Payton Award watch list from the Big Sky per Skyline Sports and Culture Nuanez. Make sure you guys go check out his article on SkylineSports.com. There was 5 players who made the list from the Big Sky. Tommy Mellott being one, talked about him earlier. Junior Bergen, talked about him earlier. Land Larison, really good player. Hoping to see a full healthy season from him at UC Davis at the running back position, and maybe some returner. Who knows if they play him at return this year. Efton Chisholm, the receiver at Eastern Washington, and Marcus Weir. Now, I thought this was very interesting because, obviously it's a feat in itself as a lineman to be put on the Walter Payton Award watch list. Has a lineman ever won the Walter Payton Award? Will they ever win it? Obviously, they have the Remington Award, which is awarded to the best lineman in FCS and FBS football. They have one for both. I'm blanking on who won it last year. I think it was the center at South Dakota State who won it last season. I'm blanking on his name. But what needs to happen for an offensive lineman to win the Walter Payton Award? Will they ever win it? I mean, what's the point of putting them on the watch list? Like I said, I think it's a feat in itself to be put on there as a lineman. Like, hey, you're being recognized as one of the best players, one of the best offensive players in the FCS. Being put on the watch list means we're watching, but also it just means I think it's an accolade in itself. I think it means that people think highly of you as a player. They think your skill set is as such that you could, be one of the best players in the FCS, even if maybe you don't win it, maybe you make the finalist list. I don't know. I didn't research this, but I wanted to know what's the furthest like a lineman ever made it. Who do you guys think will become a finalist from the Big Sky? I could see Land Larison becoming a finalist and Tommy Mellott. One, because Tommy Mellott has the ball in his hands every play. I think team success will dictate where Tommy Mellott falls in that. But then Land Larison, he is the backbone of that UC Davis offense. He's the backbone of that UC Davis team. He got hurt early on in the season. I think they struggled a bit. He came back. They went on a run towards the back half of their season last year, and he obviously was a big part of that. He's obviously one of the best players in the Big Sky, obviously one of the best players in FCS football. It's going to be exciting to see who can finish on top, who can finish towards the top of this list. Efton Chisholm is somebody who, one of the best players on Eastern Washington's roster, probably the best player on Eastern Washington roster, been getting a ton of accolades this offseason, really good receiver, probably the best returning pure receiver in the Big Sky Conference. So eyes are going to be on him. I'm sure all these guys have NFL aspirations. This season is going to be big for all of them to shine. But it was just interesting to me. Marcus Weir, best lineman in Big Sky Conference, one of the best linemen in the FCS, if not the best lineman in the FCS, converted from a D lineman to an offensive lineman, and has been a star in his role as an offensive lineman ever since the switch has been made. But what does a lineman have to do to win that award? I don't have the answer for that. It was just interesting to me. There was actually a couple linemen on there. I didn't put all, obviously this is Big Sky players, but there was a couple of linemen on that list. And, I just think that's interesting. Obviously it's some recognition for you. It's great to get that recognition. It's just great to get that recognition. I don't know if they'll ever win it. It would be cool, but I don't know. I'm just trying to think right now because, we all know to be a successful football team, you need an offensive line. You need a good defensive line. But it's are they making the same impact on the game, offensive linemen, as somebody like a quarterback is making? I don't think it's the same. The quarterback has the ball in their hands every play. They're deciding where the ball goes when it's a pass play. Obviously, if it's a run play, they're just handing it off. But they have to make the right decisions when the ball is being put in the air, and you have to be able to put the ball in the air to be successful at any level of football. Unless you're running a triple option and you're only passing the ball maybe 3-4 times a game, like somebody like a Harding at the D3 level. But I don't know. I don't know if a lineman can affect the game enough to win the Walter Payton Award. You would need I think 10 pancakes a game, and they would have to be nasty, nasty pancakes. You would have to be so obviously. You would have to be so obviously the best player on your team. You'd have to be so obviously the best lineman in the country. It would have to be so obvious, it's sickening. Like, great player, Marcus Weir, great player. I don't so much know if a lineman can ever win it. It was interesting for me to see. I'm sure they put linemen on there every year, but this was my first season really paying closely attention to the Walter Payton Award watch list, and really analyzing all the players on there. And Marcus Weir was one of them. So it just popped this question in my head. So you guys let me know what you think about that, and I will move on. Okay. Along the lines, we're still on the topic of the Walter Payton Award watch list. Should there be a separate national award for the FCS Offensive Player of the Year award? Maybe the Cooper Kupp, Jerry Rice award. Two really, really good offensive players at the FCS level. Two players. Jerry Rice actually already has an award named after him, so maybe it should be the Cooper Kupp Offensive Player of the Year award. The reason I say this is because it feels like the Walter Payton Award has really turned into a quarterback award. It has been a QB who has won it 9 of the last 10 times. There have been 37 winners of the Walter Payton Award. The award debuted in 1987 and was won by Kenny Gamble of Colgate. No lineman has ever won the award. So to go back to my topic about the Walter Payton Award watch list having linemen on it, no lineman has ever won the award. A QB has won the award 70% of the time since it has been debuted. 36 winners of the Walter Payton Award, 26 of them have been quarterbacks. That makes me think, why don't we just make the Walter Payton Award the quarterback award? Whoever the best quarterback in FCS football is, that's who's up for the finalist of the Walter Payton Award. Well, one thing that just popped in my head as to why they may not want to do this is because say one year it's a down year for quarterbacks, and quarterback play is really subpar, and if it becomes a quarterback award, you're gonna have to award a quarterback, but maybe it doesn't look so hot giving it to a quarterback who doesn't have a great stat line, but was throwing to a receiver who was tearing it up. But in that same vein, his quarterback wins Walter Payton Award, and his receiver win the Offensive Player of the Year award. But I just think it gives more players a chance to be recognized, because I think there's some really good players in the FCS, and they sometimes get overshadowed by some of these quarterbacks at the FCS level. Let's just make the Walter Payton Award a quarterback award. Let's give somebody else. Let's give other offensive players, running backs, receivers, maybe even an offensive lineman. Maybe that will open the door. But I don't even like that, because we have the Remington Award for the best offensive lineman, so they are getting recognized. But there's no receiver award. There's no... and there doesn't necessarily have to, but I think there should be. There's the Biletnikoff at the FBS level, so at the FCS level, why isn't there a best receiver award? Why not make a best receiver award? I wanted to compare it to the Heisman Trophy as well, so compare the Walter Payton Award, which is basically the best offensive player, but the Heisman is a little different. Mostly offensive players win the Heisman. A defensive player could win the Heisman. I think there's only been 1 or 2 defensive players. I know Charles Woodson. I can't even think of another offensive or defensive player who has won it. You guys might have to fact check me on that. But 43% of Heisman winners have been quarterbacks. Almost 50% of the Heisman winners have been running backs, halfbacks, and fullbacks. And if you know anything about the history of college football, a lot of teams used to be, it was the running back who was the guy, the halfback, the fullback, in the triple option, the wing T, whatever you want to call it. It was the running back, the halfback, or the fullback. Those were the guys on the team. That's why if you look at some of those early Heisman winners, they were all running backs. There was like a string of running backs for years and years and years that won it. So I think the Heisman's a little different, because the Heisman isn't, for the best offensive player. It's for, the best player in the country, offensive or defensive. Obviously, mostly offensive players win it. I should have put the number of percentage of offensive players. It's probably like 99.9% of the time offensive players have won that award. And a good decent amount of time, quarterbacks and running backs have won that award. A couple of years ago, we saw Devontae Smith win it at the receiver position. That was awesome to see. But back to the FCS topic. I think we need an Offensive Player of the Year award. I think there should be more awards at the FCS level in general. But I think the Walter Payton Award should be a quarterback award. They seem to only give it to quarterbacks for the most part. It seems that you have to, as a receiver, you have to have a season like Cooper Kupp had, like 1,800 receiving yards, 20 touchdowns, like breaking all the records at every level. That's the only way you can really win the Walter Payton Award. I think they need to make it a little more fair. Make the Walter Payton Award a quarterback award. Make a Offensive Player of the Year award. Name it the Cooper Kupp Offensive Player of the Year award, or somebody of that ilk, or like an Adrian Peterson Offensive Player of the Year award. I don't know. You guys let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. Have you guys thought about the fact that primarily only quarterbacks have won the Walter Payton Award? Obviously, it hasn't been around as long as the Heisman, but, in its short history, 37 winners, 26 of them have been quarterbacks, 70%. I don't know. It's pretty interesting to me. You guys let me know what you think about that in the comments, and I will move on. Okay, final topic that I wanted to cover. Miami quarterback who used to play at the FCS level at Incarnate Word, absolutely tore it up at Incarnate Word, went to Washington State last year. The last couple years he was at Washington State, actually, and played really well. He contemplated entering the transfer, or he contemplated actually going to the NFL. I think he heard that he was going to be like maybe a 4th or 5th round draft pick. I think that's somewhere where I heard around where he was going to be picked, 4th or 5th round draft pick. He decided instead of going to the NFL, he was going to transfer. He ended up at Miami, and he made some comments about NIL. Miami QB Cam Ward says NIL is not real money to college players. They think a player's set off NIL stuff. The NIL stuff's not real money. It's just starting money, I would say. It's just starting money, I would say. A lot of players, especially here, we like to save our stuff. Because at the end of the day, life-changing monies, that's the NFL money. He's not wrong about that. The life-changing money is at the NFL level. You're going to get way more money at I don't even know, man. Like, it's kind of hard to say sometimes at this point because a lot of these guys at a lot of these big Power 4 institutions are getting a bag. Armando Bacot made a comment a couple of weeks ago. It's actually probably a couple of months ago at this point. He said he made upwards of $2 million in the last 2 years at North Carolina. Obviously, he's an NBA. He's a basketball player. So that's a little different. The NBA money is different than the NFL. But still, $2 million as a college athlete. I mean, I think that's more than some of these rookie contracts at the NFL level. I think rookie minimum is like 800, something around like 800. So this dude made $2 million in the last 2 years, $2+ million in the last 2 years as a basketball player. I'm sure some of these numbers, like Caleb Williams was probably getting a ton of money. I can't even think of some of the names. Blake Corum at Michigan was probably getting a ton of money. J.J. McCarthy was probably getting a ton of money. Drake May at North Carolina was probably getting a ton of money. He's football at North Carolina, but still, some of these bigger names, these guys in college football are getting a bag. Luther Burden at Missouri, I'm sure he's not hurting at all in terms of NIL. But I guess Cam Ward is trying to say that, although some of this money is really good. I feel like some of the numbers are kind of inflated. People talk about these numbers. You got On3, who's I think is probably the best at reporting some of the numbers of some of the NIL values that they see these guys have. But who knows? Who knows how much these guys are truly getting unless you see pay stubs or something like that. You'll never really know. At the end of the day, money comes and goes. If you're really worried about money, you won't get to where you want to be, Ward said. At the end of the day, you have to be a good person and take care of the little things. He's not wrong. I think the media pushes NIL as people getting this and this, when in reality, that's not true, Ward said. If you have a social media following, a lot of people can get their deals like that, but a lot of NIL stuff isn't true. But I feel like just the media pushes it that way, especially in our building. We're all blessed to have that, but at the end of the day, it doesn't make us who we are. So basically, he's trying to say, don't listen to all the numbers you see. They don't know what they're talking about. I do agree with what he's saying. Like, obviously, it's so weird. NIL is interesting because it's name, image, and likeness. So if you have a name, if you have an image, people want to use your likeness in order to garner their brand some dollars. But it's like, how known are these guys truly? Cam Ward, that's a name that rings bells to me. Luther Burden, that's a name that rings bells to me. Take it in the past. Caleb Williams, that's a name that obviously rang bells. He won a Heisman. But it's like, what is these guys' true value? And I think that's, some of the things that are being brought up now with the NCAA and some of the rule changes that are coming with like this revenue share model. They're trying to kick out these third-party deals. They're trying to, have these third-party deals be vetted. Collectives are going to kind of be put on the back burner. A lot of things are going to change, especially at the Power 4 level. Not so much at the FCS level. I think collectives are still going to have a heavy hand in NIL and, controlling things. But at the FBS Power 4 level, the rev share model is coming. NIL deals are going to look completely different. I don't think there's going to be so much of big numbers being thrown around. There might still be, big numbers thrown around, but, these deals are going to have to be comparable value to somebody outside of your institution. So they got to be comparable, and these deals have to be vetted. You can't just be throwing money to a collective for it to pay this player. You can't throw $500,000 at a collective and ask it to pay this player. I mean, you could, but that would count towards a school's cap. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch my video from last week. I kind of broke down what the cap model at the at the FBS level, at the Power 4 level, is going to look like. If FCS and G5 schools have the opportunity to opt into this model, but they don't have to, so they won't have to share revenue. A lot of these FCS schools don't make a ton of money, so I don't see a lot of FCS institutions opting into this. But Cam Ward is basically trying to say that the money that you guys think we're getting is not exactly what we're getting. And per On3, I just wanted to bring up some of the numbers. I talked about per On3. This topic was actually found from On3. Per On3, Cam Ward's NIL valuation is $998,000. So just under $1 million is what they see he could potentially get in the NIL market as a college football player at Miami. Obviously, Miami was one of the institutions that Florida was kind of one of the states that spearheaded the NIL movement back in 2021. They were I think it was actually 2020 that they, put their law through, but, they were kind of one of the first states to say no, we're taking it to the governmental level. They're going to make the decision and we're going to overpass the NCAA. And that is kind of what made the NCAA kind of just say, okay, NIL is legal. As of 2021, you guys can make money on your name, image, and likeness. And that's why, we've kind of seen it as the Wild Wild West, because the states started to take it over, and the NCAA was kind of forced to push this out there. He has 33,900 followers on IG and 11,000 followers on Twitter. So very interesting. I think he has about 40,000 followers on both his more than 40,000 followers on both his big social media accounts. I don't know so much. Obviously, On3 sees that value as just under $1 million. That's obviously up to the brands. Whatever brands are willing to give him right now, in the model that exists right now, he can make whatever a business is willing to pay him. So that's his value. We will see what he's able to do on the field. Cam Ward seems to be doing all right in NIL at Miami, but he understands that this is only a fraction of what he can make in the NFL. 100%. I think he's got the right mindset about it. He obviously understands that, the money it's good starting money. And I think, he's making a good point. This is good starting money. This is good seed money to have in my bank account. This is good money for me to be set. If I don't have the most fruitful NFL career, this is good starting money for somebody coming out of college with a college degree. Not a lot of experience in the workforce. It's good money to, start a business. It's good money to do whatever you want to do with it. Invest it. It is great starting money. But, life-changing money, the money that's going to change his family's life, the money that's going to change generations down the road, that money is to be had in the NFL. You sign that first rookie contract. If he ends up being a first-round draft pick, that's really good money. That's life-changing money right there. But then, what I think he's talking about is, signing that second contract, having a great NFL career, showing teams that, you can be a game changer at the quarterback position. That is where that life-changing money is going to come from. And, he's grateful. He understands what position he's in. Obviously, being a quarterback at Miami, you're going to have a lot of eyes on you. There was a video a couple of weeks ago of him and Shedeur Sanders going back and forth. So I know there's going to be a lot of people paying attention to him at Miami in the spotlight. But we'll see. What do you guys think about Cam Ward's comments about NIL and it not being real money? I think he kind of just misspoke right there. But what do you guys think about that? Leave me a comment and we will move on. One more thing right before I close this video out. I wanted to apologize to my guy, Nick Osmo. I can't even remember. I honestly don't remember the video, but like I mentioned, I was at the ramp-up practice yesterday. Nick walked up to me. He's like, damn, man, you can't remember my name? And I do remember what he's talking. I don't remember the video, but I do remember there was a time when I was like, damn, why am I forgetting this? Why am I forgetting this guy's name? And I said oh, Nick Osmo, I should never have forgot his name. And he mentioned how I did say that in the video, but I apologized to him there. And I said, no, bro, thank you for calling me out. I shouldn't have done that. Do call me out. Just the same thing I said about Coach Eck. Call me out when I'm in the wrong. Call me out when I mess something up. Call me out when I miss your name. call me out. Don't let it slide. Like, don't just see me and be like, yo, what's up, Sammy? Like, no, like, if I missed your name, say, bro, you missed my name. What the hell is up with that? Like, I appreciate that. I appreciated that from Nick Osmo, just like I appreciated it from Coach Eck when he did it to me a couple of weeks ago, or at the Big Sky Media Day. So, Nick, I want to apologize. I should not have forgot your name. You're my teammate since like 2018. We've been teammates. I've been around you since you were like a freshman. Like, you're a great guy, great teammate. I appreciate you. I can't remember the video that I forgot your name in, but you are damn right. I should not have forgot your name. That should have never been a topic of discussion. I should have never forgot it. I feel terrible. I hope you know I'm going to be thinking about that for the next month and a half. I feel terrible. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I feel like the worst person ever. I'm sorry. But I appreciate you letting me know that, man. I appreciate you. Actually, outside of you letting me know that, I appreciate you paying attention to the channel. I appreciate you watching the videos. You guys have no idea how many people have come up to me and said, man, like, I watch your videos. I appreciate what you're doing. I'm so excited for the season to start once again so that I can start breaking down some more games, breaking down a lot of these Big Sky games, breaking down, some games across the FCS. But that is one of the things that I'm most excited about to get started and get going on. So let's get to it, man. It's a couple weeks away, only a couple weeks away. I cannot wait. But I thank you guys for tapping into the video today. Make sure you guys leave me a comment. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel. Like I said, I'm trying to get to 1,400 subscribers. We're getting near and dear to that. So make sure you guys leave me a comment. Make sure you guys subscribe down below. Let me know what you guys want to see next. And let me know some of the things that you guys want to see me point out in some of my videos this football season. But I appreciate you guys for tapping in. And I will catch you guys next time. See ya.